Singularity.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Singularity One-on-One. Singularity One-on-One is a regular podcast feature of Singularity Weblog, where you can go and listen to it or download it in full. As you may already know, my name is Nicola, aka Socrates, and as always, I will be the man with the questions. Today, my guest on the show would be Dmitry Itskov. Dmitry is the founder and one of the organizers behind the Global Future 2045 Congress that was recently held in Moscow, and the main person behind the civilian project Avatar. So without further ado, hi Dmitry and welcome to Singularity One-on-One.
Hi Nicola.
It's very nice to have you here. Thanks for taking time. So I don't want to waste your time because I know you're very busy, and let's just jump right into the interview here with the first question, which is, Dmitry, how did you get interested in technology in general and the technological singularity in particular?
When I was in the second year of my study at the university, I launched my IT business, internet business. So you can say that I was always very close to science and new technology. And that, I suppose, that fact also brought me to the 2045 and Avatar project.
And what specifically in the concept behind the technological singularity grabbed your attention and inspired your imagination?
I wouldn't say that that it was technological singularity that inspired me to do the 2045 project, to develop the 2045 idea. It was their desire to be involved with in something that can help people, help to develop technology that can really change the humanity. Not only technological interests. I even started being interested in this idea. I even didn't know what singularity was.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. So is it fair to say then that your motivation behind the project is kind of general humanitarian rather than technological or business or scientific?
I would say that my motivation is completely humanitarian, and science and business come further. I wouldn't say that there will be no business in this project, and definitely there will be much science in this project. But for me, it is most important that we in the future reach the result and make this technology real. And I would even be happy if somebody does it for me, not me personally.
Well, that kind of very much reminds me to the main idea behind Singularity University, where the goal is to impact positively the life of 1 billion people within 10 years. And of course, people are advised to accomplish that via self-sustaining entities such as companies, bringing in new technologies online and inventions and so on. But the ultimate idea is impact, positively impacting the life of 1 billion people within 10 years. So it seems like your goal is very similar indeed.
My ultimate idea is to develop a new strategy for the humanity which can help people to overcome all those crises that we face now, we are facing now.
Yeah, we are indeed living in a very volatile and turbulent time. So perhaps now is the best place to move on to the purpose and the idea behind your organizing of the Global Future 2045 conference.
My main idea was to create a worldwide network of scientists and to draw attention to those very pressing issues for the humanity, like development of the technologies, like variety of crises, like necessity to develop a new paradigm for the society. So I wanted to initiate a global discussion and to make to significantly increase their number of scientists that is involved in my project. So that's why I gathered people, and what I wanted was to make their project really big and international.
And so, how did it unfold? I know that the recent conference was organized in Moscow just a few weeks ago. I almost made it there. Were it not for a family emergency, I would have probably been there because it sounded like a fantastic event. So, from your point of view as an organizer, was it a successful event?
For me, it was more than successful because there were many people inside, many scientists, many new contacts, good discussion after, and new ideas, new proposals to each other. I mean, me, scientists, some businessmen which attended the Congress. So their real network of avatar of people who are interested in the future, who want to make our world better. This number of people significantly increased after the event, and that was the main result for me.
Yeah, and I can say for myself that I've been seeing a big impact in terms of public relations that conference has had, because I keep seeing your name and references to the conferences all over the place. But let's talk a little bit more about perhaps the most important project or goal of that conference, which is the so-called Project Avatar. So first of all, recently there was an announcement by the Pentagon that they are going to be investing $7 million from this year's budget to creating a military project Avatar. So how is your project different than the Pentagon project, or is it?
What I did is I announced my Avatar project during the Singularity Summit.
Yeah, I was there. I saw your speech. It was fantastic.
Like half a year ago, and my initial goal was to develop not a military project, but a project which can help people and do something for the civilian hands. So although Pentagon did much for such project to come true, I don't find their ideas of having such robots and having such brain-computer interface for military purposes. I don't find such idea of having such avatars like warriors. I would like to see in the future that such technologies would help disabled people, would help those who are quadriplegic or paraplegic, would help us to see perfect brain-computer interfaces for controlling robots for emergency situations. I would like to see those people who are blind and deaf and probably dumb, full members of our society, back to life. I would like them back to life.
Yeah, that very much goes to your humanitarian motivation, which is fantastic. I agree entirely with you. Such a powerful technology is dangerous to be adopted first in the military realm. And it can actually have a serious negative externalities. It can hurt our civilization, perhaps, in general. So how do you see your project in terms of benchmarks or goals that you have placed into the future for the next decade, 2 or 3? How do you see it unfolding? What are your goals and the steps that you would take?
The first step is human-like robot controlled by brain-computer interface, and I think that it is quite feasible in the next 5 to 7 years. What has not been done yet is probably perfect energy supply for the avatar, which will make it really autonomous, and probably brain-computer interface, which is at now level of at our level of technology is very simple and has little speed of data transfer. So I see that on the other hand, much work has been done. Like DARPA already has a bipedal robot running.
Yeah.
Some junior scientists from Japan has a Geminoid robot, and I would like to mention Professor Bachi, who is far away from everybody in the field of telepresence. So I would again stress that in the period from 5 to 7 years, inventing such avatar is quite feasible, because I know that many scientists are concentrated now on such technology. But very important, Avatar A is to achieve some intermediate goals during the development of that robot, like producing perfect artificial limbs for people, like dividing this project into parts that can be realized earlier and start helping those people who need our help.
That's fantastic. And what's the next step after you get the sort of step one of the avatar robot?
Then comes Avatar B, which will be based actually on the Avatar A, but the main point of the project is to build a life support system for the brain and to connect it to Avatar B such a way that we would be able to transfer 100% data from Avatar to our brain. And the thing is that developing such robots, such system for the brain and connecting them, we can give new life to those people who are at the age of dying, who are absolutely paralyzed, like Stephen Hawking, for example, who really still have their personality, who really still have clear mind, but experience some serious problems with their health.
Physical disabilities and so on, yeah.
So we will be able to develop something that will really save their personality, but not will link them to their hospital. While the avatar will allow them to be really free in our society. And what's more, I think that Avatar B will really help the science. I mean, such ambitious goal will help science to go further in understanding how brain works, and probably how consciousness works, because the effect of telepresence is something very interesting, which has to be studied more thoroughly.
So then step two of what you just called Avatar B is expected to be within the next, 10, 20 years?
Actually, we can start connecting our Avatar A as soon as it is developed to their brain. So the first stage will be in parallel with the creating of Avatar A process. But what we also have started is getting proposals from scientists how to really extend the life of our brain and how to produce a life support system for the brain. So I would say that really challenging task will be to transplant human's head and probably transplant human's brain to the Avatar A, or probably there will be no need to transplant it because if we have a stable connection, probably body could stay in the body, for example, of quadriplegic person could stay in bed, and the person will be able to operate their avatar. It sounds for many scientists, it sounds a little bit contradictional to launch this project, but for me, it's very important to discuss ethical questions from the very beginning and to understand that the science is here to help people, not to be blocked, by some thoughts and some fears. We have to understand that those people who suffer also need help, and what we need is to invest our time and money and abilities to help them. And although it sounds controversial, transplanting brain, transplanting head, even if it help few people in the future, it's worth doing, I suppose.
Yeah, and I congratulate you on raising the ethical dimensions and issues that we must confront as we are progressing towards those goals. And just for the skeptics, I'd like to point out that I recently discovered that there was a very famous neurosurgeon in the 1960s called Professor White, who in Ohio in 1961 and 1962 transplanted the head of an ape to another ape's body, and was able, and actually I published a full documentary of that on my blog, and actually was able to sustain an ape's brain alive outside of the skull for about 12 hours, and run all those sort of electromagnetic tests that usually are used in medicine to test whether people have consciousness or not, when they are in coma, for example. So I'd like to say that it's been about 50 years since somebody actually did much of the work that you described in apes. And actually, he had a number of invitations from what was then the Soviet Union, and there was some archival footage of tests that were done at that time in the Soviet Union, mainly with dogs, and they had two-headed dogs. They had a dog head sustained alive without the body, basically with a machine. And that was 50 years ago.
I was going to mention exactly that Soviet experiment was actually the Russian scientist, Professor Demikhov, who first transplanted dog's head, and who first really showed that such process is absolutely real. And of course, I'm aware of Dr. White's research, and unfortunately, he passed away in 2010. But I think he showed to everybody that this project that I'm going to implement now was very feasible. Nothing unreal. Just the science is the sphere where we have to set up ambitious goals and pay attention to them, invest our time in them, and that will definitely lead us to some very good and efficient result. So, of course, transplanting humans' brain sounds a little bit strange for numerous people, but even Robert White sounded, I would say, freaky for most of the people, but still, I suppose that if such branch of research, if such direction of research become popular, science would probably achieve fantastic result in a decade. think. And we would probably be able to eliminate the problem of totally paralyzed people. And there's people who, for example, have problems, fatal problems with their internal organs, and we will save their brain. We will save their personality. We will save them for their relatives. We will have them in our life. Imagine if some genius people like Einstein, like Leonardo da Vinci, like Leo Tolstoy, continued living, continued being with us. How many genius inventions would have happened in this case?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
I think one of the goals for me is to explain people, to show them that it's not dangerous, it's not for bad, it's not for military purposes, it's for helping them and their relatives, and, their friends stay with us longer. To give them, to give them an option. We have to go to give people an option of living longer, increasing their longevity, and not to leave this world.
Dmitry, that all sounds fantastic, especially because if I recall, when I was probably a very young child, I was reading Russian science fiction written by Alexander Belyaev, and there was one in particular called Professor Dowell's Head. And that story was written in the 1920s, and it was precisely about head transplantation and, people using new bodies and so on. So all of that, which used to be totally science fiction, totally impossible, now, as we've noticed already, Professor White and in Russia, people have made very substantial progress towards that goal. And the next step would be, of course, in humans. So it's incredible how science moves from science fiction to reality in time, and perhaps the next step is even more fantastical, which is the third step of your project Avatar. Why don't you tell us a little more about that?
I would say that third project of Avatar scheme is devoted to the development of their artificial brain. The means, their idea of the project is to produce reverse engineering for the brain. But I think that there probably will appear some different approaches to the problem, because what we need finally is to have a machine that will be able to hold our consciousness. So some people say that inventing artificial brain is not feasible, but other scientists argue that probably 100% copying the brain is not necessary, and that it won't be necessary to copy each neuron to artificial one. So I think that is also very important to draw attention of people that such project is feasible. And personally, I'm aware of more than 15 teams working on this idea, probably not for the same final purposes like I do, but still interested in the brain modeling, and still interested in understanding how brain works and how consciousness works. So I think to make our dream of producing substrate independent carrier of the consciousness will be connected with their providing such research with the real social mandate. So that's why I suggest doing and developing such project in their Avatar scheme. Like, I think it's very consequent to, after producing Avatar A and Avatar B, to develop really artificial brain, non-biological brain that will make our body completely new. I mean, that will allow us to be more advanced creatures, to evolve further, to make this evolution controlled, to be able to live further without those resources that are required for our biological body, and to live underwater, to live in outer space, not to be dependent on food, the temperature.
Mm-hmm. So I recently interviewed Dr. Rando Kuna, who on Singularity One-on-One said that mind uploading is not science fiction anymore, in support of what you just said. But on the flip side of the coin, the skeptics would say, well, Dmitry, the more further away in time you go, Project A, Avatar A, B, and the third step C, the more fantastical and impossible it starts to sound. And of course, the further away we go in time, the harder it is to predict what will or could happen. So what do you say to skeptics who say that there's no hard evidence to believe that your project is feasible at all?
I would probably give them an example of another famous writer, which was Arthur Clarke, who also described the situation when human's brain was transplanted to a kind of artificial body. I mean, his story, A Meeting with Medusa, where their main character visited Jupiter, and in the end of the story, we found out that that happened thanks to his artificial body and to his biological brain, which actually was transplanted. And I mentioned Arthur Clarke because he actually gave the 3 stages of any new and bold idea. And first stage was that people found any such idea crazy and said that the idea was not feasible. The next stage was that every such idea was feasible but was not worth doing. And the third stage was like everybody said that always believed in such idea. So I think that it was good mentioning that science fiction and those people like Belyaev and like Clarke really inspired us and science for moving further to our future. And to those people who show skeptical attitude, I would say that it's a kind of fear, a kind of shock, of future shock, like Alvin Toffler showed in his book. I would say that we have to think more of the benefits of such technologies for the humanity, and I think that we should be more, free. We should dream more, and thanks to that, all our good dreams, good expectations for the future will come true. And as to science, it always, during the whole history of the humanity, it always produced something which was unfeasible before. The science always did it feasible, like flying jets, like cybernetic medicine, artificial vision for people, limbs, even cell phones, they were completely unfeasible.
And of course, Arthur Clarke is famous for predicting the first geostationary satellites decades before they actually became reality. And I personally grew up with Alexander Belayev and his Amphibian Men book and all the other short stories, which were fantastic and I believe are slowly coming to reality one step at a time. But let's move to the next very important dimension of your work and perhaps future result of or goal of the conference, and that is the UN resolution that you're working on.
Mm-hmm.
Would you mind sharing a little bit more about what the goal is, what the resolution intends to accomplish, and how far have you come so far?
I'm sorry, I wouldn't like to disclose everything before the resolution, the draft will be completely supported by the speakers. But I would say that the main points of the resolution are that humanity now faces the series of crises. The second point is that we have to do something. We have to develop a new strategy to overcome those crises. And then we give some recommendations. We stress some directions in scientific research, some ethical points. We are pretty sure that the discussion about the future of humanity is needed, and we are at the moment when such discussion has also to be initiated through their leaders of the governments and through such big organizations like United Nations. That's why we initially planned to send our paper to the United Nations.
And let me ask you, both of those projects, even the United Nations resolution, but especially the project Avatar that you described, are very substantial, very expensive undertakings. So what about the resources that you need to or that you have acquired in order to push forward? I mean, as we mentioned, the Pentagon has put forward $7 million. How are you guys in terms of resources? Where do you get them from?
As I see the situation as the Pentagon, they declare such small amount. I mean, $7 million is not a big amount for such a project. They declare such a small amount because I think they are going to spend this money to bring computer interface, because actually they already have Petman, they have Big Dog, and they already invested large amounts of money in such projects. As I know, Big Dog, for example, cost $300 million. So to make our Avatar dream come true, we probably need billions. And probably this money should not only come from private sector, but also from governments. And to make this happen, to let this happen, we have to draw attention of presidents of developed countries, that we should explain them that those technologies are very humanitarian, that they can help people, and then they even will be possible in the future. They even will help those, leaders to plan the strategy for their society. Those innovations will play great role in the future, I think, like internet does now.
So you think that the funding should be a mixture of private and public, perhaps governmental or international governmental organizations such as the United Nations, specific governments, private donors?
I think that it should be a kind of mix, of course, but also governmental funding will play a great role, because we have to make these technologies open. We have to public everything as soon as it is developed. Because I think that we have to make our priority on the development not making business on such technologies. If we continue investments from the business point of view, we will have to close everything, to save everything, to get our money back and earn something. But in case we connect governments, there will be more opportunities to do everything non-profitable.
And
to boost the technologies, and that is the only way how we can go through their avatar time frame, and how we can make it real.
And how are you able to fund so far your projects? Because you have very specific timeline and benchmarks that you're intending to accomplish, Avatar A, B, and so on. So do you have funding attached to those steps already, or are you working on it?
I already have a few commitments for the project with quite big businessmen that are really interested, and they are interested not in making money, they're interested in doing something good. And of course, I so far spent my personal money, and I'm going to invest as much as I can in this project because it is my dream, it is my mission.
You've mentioned the ethical implications of the work that you do, but there's also religious implications, I think. Now, I suspect that just like me, you are also Eastern Orthodox by birth, or Russian Orthodox in your case. But by conviction, I'd like to make it clear, are you religious yourself? And what would be the religious impact if that project becomes a reality, in your opinion?
The question that you are asking is very pressing for me, because I wouldn't say I'm a very religious person, but the question of internal spiritual seek is very important for me, and it was also the thing that inspired the project, because understanding of how consciousness works is very closely connected to some spiritual questions that people face in their lives. So I would say that it is very important to initiate kind of dialogue between the representatives of different spiritual traditions, and that was that I did during the Congress, during the Global Future 2045, because we had during our event the representative of Buddhist tradition, of Hindu tradition, and yoga master, the representative of Orthodox Church, and the teacher of Taoism. So there was a round table during the Congress. I'm going to publish it soon. I can tell you that the dialogue between the representatives of the traditions has started. What I suppose necessary, what I think is very important for us is to stop separating science and religion and try to unite even those people and to develop our new paradigm with the help of that experience that definitely those spiritual people have.
So as I understand it, you are promoting an interfaith dialogue with respect to the project.
Of course, yes.
And its implications. So do you think that if the project becomes a reality and say we have mind uploading as a fact, do you think that would impact the religiosity of people? Wouldn't it in a way undermine the foundations of traditional religions such as Judaism, Christianity, Islam, and so on? I know that for a fact that, for example, the Dalai Lama has absolutely no problem with the merger between man and machine, with mind uploading and things like that. But the other major religions, I think, would have more of a knee-jerk reaction, perhaps.
I would say that this question is very sensible. I think that we should go further very carefully, because what we should do is to respect all their traditions, to to respect all their experience that traditions have. We shouldn't hurt people by invading into this field in a kind of improper way. We have to initiate their discussion. We have to ask for their pieces of advice, but we shouldn't allow any kind of rough critics to stop the science.
Mm-hmm.
The science should continue going further. The science should help people, but sometimes science also does something wrong, right? Like sometimes it serves for military purposes.
Mm-hmm.
But what we need is humanitarian purposes.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely think that those people from different spiritual traditions will help us to move further properly. They are definitely able to give us good pieces of advice.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a good time to bring scientists and spiritual people together and to try to do something together and to develop really new paradigm, but with the respect with all ancient traditions and with the idea of saving them. We don't have to neglect them and to try to do something new that will eliminate those traditions.
Mm-hmm. And my feeling, the feeling that I get is that you have a sort of a very respectful, very tolerant approach towards bringing that dialogue together at the same time while not sacrificing the integrity of science, which is a very tricky balance and it's very commendable. So I really appreciate that. Dmitry, the second last question that I always ask of my guests is, where can people go and find out more about the work that you do?
I should mention that there is a Congress website, which is jeff2045.com, and you should go to that site to get information about the Congress and also about the next Congress, which is going to be in New York next year, I suppose in April.
Mm-hmm.
And as to all information connected to the 2045 research and to our ideas connected to Avatar scheme and project, I should say that it is 2045.com, which is not actually full now because the project has started in Russia.
Mm-hmm.
But the site is growing and there will be a lot more information in it in the next few months.
Let me ask you this then, which is perhaps the most important question of our interview today. Do you have a single message, the most important thing that you would like our viewers and listeners to take away from this interview with you today?
Nicola, that's a good, interesting question because such an idea cannot be easily put inside one short message. In general, I would say that it is high time for people to think about further evolving, about understanding who are they, which is their place in the universe, develop new paradigm, further evolution of the humanity.
Mm-hmm. That's fantastic, and that kind of connects to the sort of ever-present search of humanity, ever dating back from, say, the ancient Greeks who wrote on the Temple of Delphi, "Know thyself." So know thyself, know yourself, know who you are, and try and find out your place in this cosmos. And that's also, by the way, the reason why I call myself Socrates, because I'm kind of looking to discover for myself the answers to those ever-present questions that all of us face, both at the personal level as individuals and at the collective level as humans. So with that, I'd like to say, Dmitry Itskov, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you, Nicola.
Singularity.